Mr. Mohammed Saleh, Technology Director, who will be assisting us. And we're going to get started with our presentation. So I'm going to start, we're going to do a presentation. Once the presentation is over, we will take questions. You'll be able to use the question and answer box listed, and we'll go through any questions you may have. Hybrid model, in-person learning, town hall, Lowell Elementary School. The hybrid model. Hybrid model is an alternating schedule that will allow students to attend school for 2 days per week. Students will be placed in cohorts, cohort A or cohort B. One cohort will participate in in-person instruction, while the other cohort will learn remotely from home. Students will alternate in-person and remote instruction based on their designated days. Cohort A will attend in-person instruction on Mondays and Tuesdays. Cohort B will attend in-person instruction on Thursdays and Fridays. MD and LLD students will attend in-person instruction on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesdays will be all virtual learning for both cohorts and MD and LLD. All remote option. All families will have the option to remain all remote. An all remote registration form was emailed to parents and guardians on Monday, December 14th. If the form is not completed, it will be assumed that parents, guardians have selected in-person learning. I'm going to repeat that. If the form is not completed, it will be assumed that parents, guardians have selected in-person learning. So forms are due tomorrow, December 18th. Once the decision is made to remain all remote, your selection will prevail for the entire third marking period. That's January 25th through March 31st. Registration for the fourth marking period will open in March 2021 for all remote opt-in. Phased reopening. The Teaneck Public School District will begin a phased reopening using the hybrid model. Phase 1, January 11th, begins January 11th, pre-K, kindergarten, MD, and LLD. Phase 2 will begin January 25th. All students grades 1 through 12. Due to COVID-19, all phased-in plans are fluid and subject to change. Reopening Phase 1, January 11th. Kindergarten students will have the option to attend school in person via the hybrid model on their assigned days. Special education self-contained students, MD, LLD, in grades K through 4, will have the option of returning for in-person instruction 4 days per week. MD and LLD students in person will attend Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. Wednesday will be all virtual from home. Both groups will continue to follow their current daily schedules and will remain with their current instructors. Students will participate in live, synchronous specials 1 day each week. Lunch will be available to all students as grab and go and should be eaten at home. Reopening Phase 2, beginning January 25th. Grades 1 through 4 general education students will have the option to attend school in person via the hybrid model on their assigned days. Students in grades 1 through 4 will continue to follow their current daily schedules and will remain with their current instructors. Students will participate in live, synchronous specials one day each week. Lunch will be available to all students as grab and go and should be eaten at home. Here is the schedule, which is our current schedule. So the current schedules we're using will not change. There may be some slight adjustments here or there, but for the most part, they will not change. Next slide, Mr. Saleh. Again, 3rd and 4th grade, the schedules will remain the same. There may be a slight change here or there, but for the most part, the schedules will remain our current schedule. Next slide. Arrival and dismissal times. Approximate arrival time at school will be by 8:50 a.m. Dismissal time, students boarding the bus will be at 1 p.m. Travel time and lunch will be taken into consideration for all afternoon sessions. Small groups will be accommodated based on students' travel and lunchtime. On A days, small groups will primarily focus on cohort B. And on B days, small groups will primarily focus on cohort A. So that means on A days, which are Monday and Tuesdays, in the cohort B students will be at home. They will begin their small groups earlier than the A students who have to travel and eat lunch. And the same thing will happen on B days. Small groups will primarily focus on cohort A, which is the time when B group will have lunch, have an opportunity for their travel. So it will balance itself out. Next slide. Daily schedule MD, LLD. Our self-contained LLD and MD classes will follow a more personalized schedule that is tailored based on the student's related services, OT, PT, speech. Classroom teachers, case managers will have detailed schedules which will include your child's related services availability. The self-contained MD classes will participate in live synchronous specials on Wednesday at 11:40 a.m. and other times as scheduled. Again, we will be looking to continue with our current schedules, and our current schedules are based around the related services. Weekly live specials afternoon schedules. All grade levels will participate in live synchronous specials one day each week. During the specified day, students' afternoon schedules will shift slightly to accommodate live instruction. Small group intervention sessions will continue to be assigned by the instructors and will be held virtually. Select students participating in the district tutoring program will continue to attend the program virtually on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Lowell School cohort placement. Final cohort placement will be dependent on the following factors: results from the all-remote registration survey, even distribution of students across each cohort. Ensure we are following CDC guidelines for classroom capacity, safety and security of students and staff by maintaining a manageable in-person population during school hours. Siblings returning to school will be assigned to the same cohort. that was determined by Family ID and Skyward and Family Access. So once we get back the all remote registration survey, we will review the survey returns and the number of students coming back at each class to ensure that we have the correct number of students in the class at one time based on the CDC guidelines. So that may alter or change what you saw from an earlier presentation about using the alphabet at the to assign the cohort. So whether that's A through L and then M through Z, that also could fluctuate based on what that looks like in a particular class. We have to make sure. So for instance, if we have a class that just happens to have everyone last name is A through L, we can't have them all come in at the same time. We would need to split that up. So we're going to look at that. Next slide. School and classroom safety protocols. Throughout the building, personal protective equipment instructions will be visible to all staff and students. Social distancing, hand washing, foot activated hand sanitation stations, face mask covering reminders. We'll minimize student movement to other classrooms, single entrance and exits by grade level, sanitizing procedures for classroom, restrooms, and common areas will follow strict protocols. As you see from the pictures, these are actual pictures in the building. So you can see the sanitation station, you can see the face covering required sign on our front door, you can see the placements, stickers that are on the floor, and what's on the doors that open on the first floor. Next slide. Classroom PPE. In classrooms, student desks will be socially distanced, positioned 6 feet apart. Staff students' desks will have protective desk shields. Students are expected to wear their face mask coverings in class at all times. Again, the picture on the left, that's an actual classroom. And you can see the desks are 6 feet apart, and there are protective desk shields up. And we currently have that in all of our classrooms in the building. Daily systems tracker, the QUALTRICS, an online system that must be completed daily before a child comes to school. This will be a very important form that must be filled out before we will allow students into the building. So it must be filled out daily. Next slide. Daily symptoms tracker with QUALTRICS. Students returning in person will be required to fill out the QUALTRICS daily systems form. It will be emailed to parents by 5 a.m. and must be filled out by 7 a.m. each time a student attends in person to be placed on the building entry list. If the form is not filled out, students will not be allowed into the building. Parents and guardians will be notified. Students will be placed in a waiting room. Students may stay in the waiting room for 60 to 90 minutes while parents are given the opportunity to fill out the form or return to school or make arrangements to pick up the students. It is important that we have the most current parent-guardian contact information. So again, this form must be filled out each time the student is going to school. It will The form will be emailed to you on a regular basis. So if your child is in cohort A, the form will be emailed to you on Mondays and Tuesdays, and it needs to be filled out. We will have a list of the by each classroom of the students who have and who have not filled out the form. If your child has filled out the form, they will be given entrance to the building. If your child has not, we will have a waiting area, and we will reach out to you until that form is completed. So please, please, I know this will be something new, but for the safety of everyone, we must fill that out each time a child is coming into the building. Next slide. Attendance in person and remote. Students will be marked absent if they are expected to report to school for in-person learning and are not in person. During remote days, students are expected to be logged on by 8:40 a.m. for Mindset Works, then proceed to homeroom for attendance and fast forward. All virtual students should be following this procedure. Attendance is paramount and essential for the success of our students. In-person learning materials. Students returning in person will need to bring the following to school with them daily. Chromebook with the chargers. Please encourage your children to charge their Chromebook at night. Textbooks, learning resources, notebooks, headset with mics, pencils and pens, face mask coverings. So these are the things that we will need daily. Busing safety protocols. Students who normally take the bus will be notified directly by the transportation department. Maintain social distancing at the bus stops. Students should remain 6 feet apart while waiting for the bus. Staggered assigned seating will limit physical interaction. Siblings will sit together. Windows will be cracked open to provide ventilation. Buses will be cleaned daily and disinfected between routes. Signs will be posted to enforce social distancing and hygiene rules. Face masks coverings must be worn while on the bus. Potential COVID exposure protocol. The Teaneck Public School District has provided a detailed video on the protocols that should be taken if a student or staff has been potentially exposed to COVID. The Lowell School Art Room has been converted to an isolation room. Students who exhibit symptoms while in school will be escorted to the isolation room. Students will be monitored. Parents, guardians will be contacted and must pick up their child immediately. At this time, we're going to go over a short video that explains more about the potential COVID exposure protocol.
Good evening. My name is Melissa Simmons, and I'm the Business Administrator for the Teaneck Public Schools. In an effort to establish a concise response to the potential exposure of the COVID-19 virus, the Teaneck Public Schools will take these necessary steps in documenting a potential exposure of a staff or student. Accordingly, we will be following the guidelines set forth coming from the New Jersey Department of Health. As such, Every student's parent/guardian and every staff member must fill out the daily wellness questionnaire prior to arriving at their school building or location. If questions are answered in the affirmative, a medical professional will contact you to assess your response further and determine the necessary course of action. Per the Department of Health, below is a guideline of symptoms that point to the COVID-19 virus. Any of the symptoms below could indicate a COVID-19 infection in children and staff and may put your child or you as a staff member at risk of spreading the illness to others. Please note that this list does not include all possible symptoms, and children with COVID-19 may experience any, all, or none of these symptoms. Please check your child daily for these symptoms. Below, you can see in column A the symptoms listed, and then those in column B. If two or more of the fields in column A are checked off, or at least one in column B, we will ask you as a staff member or you as a parent or guardian to keep your child home and await further instructions. The course of action that will follow are included in this assessment done by the Department of Health. As you can see to the left, it indicates the different situations that may occur that will indicate either a low, moderate, or high risk exposure to COVID-19. These situations may be COVID-19 positive, symptomatic, or asymptomatic, COVID-19 symptoms, but not tested for COVID-19 and no alternate diagnosis, COVID-19 symptoms and negative COVID-19 tests, COVID-19 symptoms, but with alternate diagnosis from a healthcare provider. And lastly, close contact of COVID-19 positive staff or student or to someone with COVID-19 symptoms, which indicates high risk level only. Depending on one or more of these situations, it will be then determined what course of action we will take with the student, staff members, and those that have been in secondary or direct contact with the exposed person. Until the course of action is determined, we will tell all students and staff to remain home and contact your building principal if a student, or immediate supervisor/building principal if staff. Guidelines for direct and secondary exposure is determined by the following guidelines. Where you see child, you can also include staff member. Please verify in the last 14 days if 1, your child has had close contact within 6 feet of an infected person for at least 10 minutes with a person with confirmed COVID-19. 2, someone in your household is diagnosed with COVID-19. Or 3, your child has traveled or staff member, as noted before, to an area of high community transmission. If any of these fields are checked off, once again, we ask the staff member or child to remain home for 14 days from the last date of exposure or date of return to New Jersey. If it is determined that a staff member or student has been exposed to someone with COVID-19 or they themselves has tested positive for COVID-19 in the last 14 days and has been at the Teaneck Public Schools location, the following contact tracing steps must occur. 1, immediately inform your direct supervisor/building principal. 2, all students, staff, parents, and visitors that you have come in contact with in the last 5 days again, that has been at the Teaneck Public Schools that you may have exposed. As you prepare your list, we ask you to use the link that could be found below to complete this list of people that you have been in contact with over the last 5 days. Provide that list immediately to your direct supervisor and/or building principal. Expediency is crucial in minimizing potential exposure to others. If at all possible, this list needs to be provided and completed within 1 to 2 hours or less in order to reduce potential exposure to others. Simultaneously, please contact your direct supervisor and building principal, and also call or text Mr. Cameron Cox, our public safety coordinator, at 201-364-2194, and/or email the COVID response team at crt@teenexschools.org to inform him of potential COVID-19 exposure so that he may initiate local, county, and state notifications. 6, Mr. Cox will in turn contact the superintendent of schools, business administrator, assistant superintendents, human resource management, and any applicable staff members deemed necessary for the process. The following are some scenarios and recommended course of action for schools per the Department of Health. The scenarios are as follows: 1 confirmed case in the school, 2 or more cases in the same classroom, 2 or more cases within 14 days, but are linked to an exposure outside the school setting, 2 or more cases within 14 days linked together by some activity in school, but who are in different classrooms. A significant community outbreak is occurring or has recently occurred and is impacting multiple staff, students, and families served by the school community. 2 or more identified cases within 14 days that occur across multiple classrooms, and a clear connection between cases cannot be easily identified. And lastly, very high risk community transmission. All of these scenarios can and may result in closure of classrooms, school buildings, and/or the entire district, depending on the scenarios and other scenarios that may occur. Due to HIPAA and other privacy laws, no other person shall be informed of any potential exposure until it is deemed necessary by the superintendent of schools, the business administrator, assistant superintendents, Mr. Cox, and/or local health officials. Once this process begins, all appropriate parents, guardians, and staff members will be informed and notified properly. Now, we ask you to follow up this video with the timeline video for potential COVID-19 exposure. Thank you, and we hope that you stay well during this pandemic.
Okay. Our Lowell School Pandemic Response Team, Building Maintenance, Mr. Selly Shelbourne, Health and Medical Services, Nurse Ellington, Instructional Services, Ms. Jennifer Ahern, Logistics and Transportation Services, Mrs. Susan Ahern, Mental Health Counseling Services, Mr. Cruz, Recreation Services, Ms. Alexis Ryerson, Remedial Services, Ms. Ann Park, Security Supervision Services, Principal Green, Special Education Services, Ms. Christine Thielman and Ms. Lisa Scambati. Technology Services, Mr. Dennis Hill, and our parent community contact from the PTO, Ms. Elizabeth Cruz, our PTO president. Each member of the pandemic response team plays an important role in Lowell School's overall operations as we continue to navigate through these unprecedented times. Thank you. And now we'll begin to field questions. And again, if you can put your questions, if you have questions, in the question and answer box, and I will do the best I can to answer them. Okay. First question, how will the hybrid groups be decided? Will the hybrid groups remain the same? At some point, will the days be switched at some point? The Monday, Tuesday group switch with Thursday, Friday group. So once we have the list of, and we know by the survey who is going to continue with the remote instruction, then we will look at the classroom list for each class. Once we have the numbers, we will then verify that students have already been assigned to A and B at this point. But once we, based on their last name, but then we have to go through each class to see what those numbers will look like to make sure that we maintain the CDC numbers and that the class sizes are the correct size. Once we have done that, then we will send at the school building level. I will do that at the building level. Once we've done that, we will send our list to central office, where they will verify that any changes made will not disrupt or go against the other parameters, which are that siblings stay in the same cohort. So I'll make a proposal based on the numbers for the classroom and for the building and at school. That will go to central office, who will look through and look in and to make sure that none of the suggested changes will affect anything at for siblings at the middle and high school, and then we'll go from there. The next question, are you able to make a request for your child to be in a specific cohort? The answer at this time is no, based on the cohorts, because of transportation and the like, and making sure once you're in a cohort, that's the cohort that you will be assigned to. Will there be any air purifiers in children classrooms? At this time, the answer to that is no, but we do have the windows, and the way our heating system works, fresh air is constantly pulled from outside into the classroom. Someone wants, let me see. More details on what the isolation room will look like and how staff to help a child feel comfortable and not freak out. On that particular slide, that was the actual picture of the isolation room. The isolation room has 2 cots. It's in the art room. There are 2 cots. There will be someone there who will be dressed, with PPE to stay with the child until the parent is available. As you know, that room is also, the art room was chosen because it's right next to the nurse's office. And yes, we will do the best that we can to make sure the child is comfortable and calm while they're waiting. Hold on, I'm just trying to read this question. So the question is about the number of hours, that there's 8 hours per week. That is correct. So there's the Monday, Tuesday. So that there are 8 hours in-person instruction per week. Is the QUALTRICS, the second question is the QUALTRICS, is it on an app platform? I don't have an answer to that question. Ms. Simmons, do you have the answer to that question?
It's actually, it can be on an app, but right now we're using the email function of it to make sure that every parent can access it. So you would email every morning by 5 a.m. in order for you to complete it. Obviously, depending on your smartphone, you could probably access it from your phone also. But right now we are utilizing the email function of it in order for everybody to have full access.
Okay, thank you. And then when and how do we get the busing information? Busing information will come directly from transportation. They will send you a letter, and that letter will contain the bus stop, the time of arrival, and the time of when the students will report back. That will come directly from transportation.
And just to add, that will come in January, right before we go come back, because we're still awaiting numbers based on your responses tomorrow. So once we get all that information back from you as parents and guardians regarding who is coming back to live instruction, we'll be able to start preparing the routes accordingly.
Hold on 1 second. Okay. The 2 days the kids go in, are they half days? And once they come home, do they log in again for class? Yes. So each day the in-person schedule is until 1 p.m. And then we have afternoon sessions of specials and small group classes. So yes, the students will need to log in again once they come home from school. School sessions, the in-class, our school day goes 8:40 to 3:30. The in-person schedule will be until 1 p.m. Since children's desks will be spaced out, will there be an assistant to help the teacher with taking children to bathrooms, etc.? The bathroom issue is still something that we're sorting out, but we will have some sort of communication in regards to using the bathroom, whether that is the class goes one by one, or there will be some sort of notification to the office so that we can maintain how many students are out and whether the bathrooms are available based on who's currently in the bathroom. How will dismissal be handled between pickup and busing? We will have a routine regarding busing that will maintain student distance of the 6 feet, and the same will go with the pickup in the afternoon out at the main entrance. Will the teachers be teaching both in-person class cohort students and virtual students? If so, how effectively is it going to work out? Yes, they will be teaching both set of students. They will be teaching, and we're going to find out how effectively. We haven't done that previously, but it's going to be very similar to what we are currently doing, because students are all going to be working together. They're all going to be using their Chromebooks and working within the groups and the small groups, and they will be able to see the teacher using either the Chromebook camera or our hover cams, or we have additional cameras that teachers can use. Since the kids will be in school for 5 hours, will there be a cafeteria hour opening, or kids will bring lunch from home? Also, will they be wearing masks throughout the in-class hour? Students will be wearing masks in class. We will be providing lunch, but we will not be having a lunch time. Usually during the day, we do have a time for a snack. So we will be continuing that. So students may bring in a snack, but we will not be, but lunch will be from home.
And just to add, Mr. Green, we will still be providing grab and go lunch for students in school or at home, so parents can still come and pick up if your child is not in school that day. You're still we'll still have drive up areas at the high school, and I believe it's at Bryant School, for you to pick up lunch for your student for that day. So lunch will be available daily for all students.
Okay, are there any other questions? Will there be a SAC program? I'm not certain of that at this time. I'm not the actual person to answer that question.
I'll answer it. The plan is to, yes, have SAC still. We're waiting for obviously from the forms that are going to be completed tomorrow. We're waiting for that information. And once we have the idea of who will be coming back, then based on those numbers, you'll get additional forms sent to you if you're interested in SAC. So the plan is, yes, to have SAC available. But again, it's going to be based on your responses for the need for SAC. So but that is the plan.
I have a statement here. Good evening, Mr. Green. I wanted to wish you and your staff a happy holiday and thank all of my child's teachers for their dedication and hard work to continue to provide my child with quality education during the prior 9 months. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Will related arts remain asynchronous? Yes, but with the scheduled 1 day per week where it will be synchronous. What is the expectation for music if the music teacher does not return? What should be happening coming up is we're able to make an arrangement pending. Well, I'm not going to announce. We were able to I think, addressed the situation, but that's pending board approval. And so hopefully at the next board meeting, we're hoping to have that resolved with the classes, and also with the synchronous instruction for music until our music teacher returns. So we're hoping after the break that we have that situation rectified. Are there any other questions? We will have the presentation available for you, for anyone who may have, if you came in late, or for any parent that who wasn't here. Please make sure you talk with any of the other families. I will be sending out a reminder to parents to make sure that if your plan, again, if you do nothing, so I just want to make sure that everyone is clear. Our assumption, if you don't fill out the survey, we're counting you as someone who's coming in. If you don't fill out the survey, you're filling out the survey to let us know that your child is going to stay remote. So if we don't have a survey, we're going to assume that you're coming in, and we're going to set up the classrooms and place your child in a cohort for either A or B. The survey is for anyone who's deciding to stay remote, okay? Let's see, how do I opt for in-person learning? You opt for in-person learning by not filling out the survey. The survey is in an email, and I sent the email again yesterday. So there should be an email from me for yesterday, and also one that came on Monday from the district. Let's see. So question, with regards to the isolation protocol, we are in cold weather season and some of the kids only have a viral cold. How will the team be able to tell if a viral cold symptoms or COVID-19 symptoms? Will the nurse be checking the kids' vital signs, including temperatures, to determine if the child needs to be isolated pending parents or guardian arrival? Again, it will be by the symptoms. A fever. If a student has a fever, they will need to be picked up. If they have symptoms, we will have to check in regards to why the student is having those symptoms. If a student, for example, may have shortness of breath, but that student also may be a student who we know has asthma. So those are things that we would have to look at, but also we would need something from the doctor stating that this is why this student is having these particular symptoms, and would most likely be, Ms. Simmons, I want to make sure I'm correct, but we would also be asking for a negative COVID test.
Not initially. We would be asking for, again, I think you were right on point, Mr. Green, where it depends on the symptoms that are being presented. Once anyone, student or staff, but students present with any symptoms, our nurse will assess those symptoms, and depending on the system, symptoms will will consult with the doctors and make a call to send the student home. Most likely, if you send a student home, we're going to ask you to follow up with your doctor in order to clear your student to return back to school. It is not, depending on the situation, we may not ask for any negative COVID testing or your child to be tested. So that is not going to be the first requirement for your child to come back. But what will be a requirement is for the child's or your personal doctor to give them clearance to return to school, especially if they're presenting with symptoms. If the symptoms do turn out to be non-COVID related, then a note from your doctor would be sufficient. If they do turn out to be COVID related symptoms, and then again, we'd have to still follow the guidelines from the doctor to release them to return back to school. So once any symptoms are presented and we are unable to make any determination, we'll ask you to follow up with your own physician in order to clear your child to return back to school.
Another statement. Thank you so much for answering all my questions. We truly appreciate Lowell School and especially my child's teacher. I wish you and your family a happy holidays. Thank you. Do we need to get a headset with a mic for students, or will it be provided at school? So I would recommend everyone to get a headset with a mic, even though we will have them available at school, and we will not be and usually those things are not shared. Students have their own individual headset and mic.
Mr. Green, if I may, I just want to jump in on that question. So, we recommend that students bring their own headsets. It does not have to have a microphone. There's a microphone built into the Chromebook. So if you already have headphones that they have already been using all year long, please, by all means. We do have some headsets.
Mr. Saleh, I just want to interject. We do ask for a microphone because we have a program that we use where the students need a microphone.
Apologies. Yes, then microphone, please.
Thank you. What happens, good evening, what happens if we decide to come in person, but then change our minds and want to stay remote? What happens is, if you change your mind, you have to give us 3 days notice. And then after the 3 days, we switch the child over to remote. So in writing, write us a letter, send us an email notifying us 3 days in advance that you would like to have your child begin change from in-person to all remote. And then we'll make that adjustment. For hybrid students returning in January, how recent can the student's COVID test be negative? Is December recent enough for January?
We're not requiring for your child's return to have a negative COVID test. That's why the daily wellness check questionnaire is going to be paramount to the process. We're asking all parents to complete that wellness questionnaire every day to assess your child's daily wellness. And we encourage you to, if any symptoms are present, to keep your child home for the day and to assess any further symptoms. So really this is a collaboration between you and us in regards to daily, all of us checking our daily wellness and to make sure that no symptoms are being presented. So as the government, and I say the government, our state and local officials, even our federal officials at this point are really encouraging frequent testing, but it's not something that we are mandating in the school. So it does help if you have one, but it does not stop you from sending your child to school.
And then one thing that I guess I should mention regarding that QUALTRICS, all faculty We, faculty and staff, we also do the QUALTRICS each morning as well.
And I will say now, also, as opposed to students, staff have all been required to, before returning to school, to take a COVID test. So we are requiring that of all staff persons. However, we're not requiring that for students that are returning. We encourage it, but we don't require it.
There's a question, Ms. Simmons, how often will teachers and staff be tested when school opens?
We haven't made the determination how often. So far, it's been before and after any major holidays. So after the holiday season, we're going to require all staff to do that. We required them to do it 2 other times. So it's been about monthly, but that is not a hard and fast schedule we're following. But all staff will be required to do that prior to coming back to school to begin teaching again. And Dr. Irvin will make that determination how often after that he would have staff take the tests if necessary.
Any other questions? I also encourage you, if you look, we have the parent FAQ that the district has put together. That was also something I sent out to you. And we will have all of the information on the Lowell homeschool web page. So we encourage you to look there. The presentation will be there. And we have also the links for the district documents are there as well. And if you have any questions, please feel free to call us. We are available to you. We want to provide the best education that we possibly can, given our circumstances. But I am comfortable and I am confident that we can help the students move forward and grow even in this environment. And we really appreciate you, the parents, and all the great work that you have been doing to help your children. We know it's not easy, but in partnership, through technical difficulties, through trials and tribulations, we're going to get through this. And we really, really appreciate you. And we want to try to keep you as informed as possible, and tell you that together we are going to get through this. Again, thank you, Mr. Green, for your leadership. Communication is very important. Happy holidays. What happens if a kid or a teacher tests positive? Do they need a negative test to return? Yes, they will need a negative test to return. We will do contact tracing based on the responses. We will be following the state and local guidelines. Hello, Mr. Green. Just want to confirm this cohorts groups will be following last names as like middle schools. Yes, we will start off just like with the middle schools. We will start off by the last name, and then we'll go through it to make sure that the numbers work, so that we are staying within the CDC guidelines, because there may be some times where that doesn't work. But if you have a child at the middle school, the siblings are in the same cohort, so your child would not be affected. We would not make a change on purpose that would move siblings out of the same cohort. Okay, then I think with that question, I think we are done. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Ms. Simmons, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate you coming out and joining us. Mr. Saleh, we greatly appreciate your help, and we greatly appreciate everyone. Stay safe, and like I said, we got a break coming up. Enjoy the break. Take time. Close that. We won't be assigning any work over the break, so close the Chromebook. If you want to pick up a book, turn the TV off, and just rest. All right. Good night, everyone.